Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new of Optimize Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. And I have a special guest, Dr. Sara Ionescu, and she's going to be talking to us about a great subject. Subject is small steps, big change. How daily movement transform your body and your mind. It's going to be a great subject, and I selected it because it's almost the end of the year, and we know was the end of the year, all goals, and oftentimes it includes exercise. Going to lose so many pounds. I'm going to lose 30 pounds next year and all that. We start strong and then like that. So Dr. Sarah is really an expert at coaching people through this. So the reason why we're on here today. But anyway, I'm going to yourself first. Tell us a little bit about yourself, doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I'm Dr. Sarah. Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited to be here. So, I am a wife. I am a mom of five that are ages 8 and under currently. I am a movement coach. I'm a family physician, and I am incredibly passionate about exercise and movement. And I help busy moms create passion for movement as a way to feel stronger, more confident, more energized, and inspire their families to do the same.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Sarah, first question I want to ask you is what made you want to become a doctor to begin with?
Yeah. So I, growing up, had this wonderful pediatrician that I went to every single year without fail. She took care of us from like birth until I was 18 and going to college. She felt like a part of our family, and that relationship was wonderful. And so that seeing that relationship that I had with her, but then also getting to see like what she did and the nature of being a doctor, that kind of sparked the interest really early. And then as I moved through education with high school, it became clearer and clearer that that was definitely what I wanted to do. When I went to college, I actually chose to major in engineering because I wanted to have a backup plan in case medical school didn't work right away, which turned out to be, yeah. So that was my plan plus my dad's encouragement, because he was an engineer and was like, you really like, it would be really helpful to have a backup plan just in case. Well, he was right. I ended up not getting into medical school right away. And so I actually worked for a pharmaceutical company for a couple of years out of college. And that was incredibly helpful for me, because I think it helped me really confirm that medical school was the right path. But it also gave me some time to really mature and figure out sort of like the things that I needed to do to grow and develop to really thrive as a medical student.
Wow, wonderful. So did you do chemical engineering?
I did. I did chemical engineering, which at the school I went to was the most rigorous engineering program, but it had the most overlap with pre-med. So chemical engineering required a lot of the classes, some of the chemistry stuff that was required for pre-med. So when I was deciding what engineering to do, I looked at the requirements for both, like to be pre-med, but then also like to meet the requirements to apply to med school, but also which one is going to help me graduate as an engineer. And chemical had the most overlap. And I'm actually so glad I chose that, because it was the smallest engineering major. And so we were very, very tightly knit, because there were only like 35 of us in the engineering school that was hundreds of students. So I made some of my absolute best friends in that major. But yeah, it was quite a choice to make in college.
Well, life, it always ends up working, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly.
So then what made you become passionate about movement and exercising?
Yeah, so that's another thread that started really the same way. Like from the very beginning, when I was young, I was in swimming lessons. And then once I was skilled enough, I was on a swim team, and I grew up swimming all the way through college. I even swam in college. And when I graduated college, there was a little blip of like, oh boy, how do I do this as a standalone person? I was so used to being on a team and having a coach prescribe it for me. And all I had to do was show up. Like, we knew what time, and I just showed up and somebody else told me what to do. So when I graduated college, there was a little bit of an adjustment to figuring out how to do it by myself, but I joined a gym. I made friends that were like-minded and into fitness, and it worked out beautifully. And then when I got into medical school, of course, things changed with the amount of time that you have. And again, I was able to figure it out. Things had to look a little bit different, but really the biggest adjustment was when I became an attending physician. So completed my training, started my first job, and then had my first baby within like a month of that. And so all of those changes really threw a wrench into my sort of typical exercise. And that experience of not knowing how to adjust to that, how to get back to exercise safely postpartum, even as a physician, even as somebody that part of my training was taking care of pregnant people and delivering babies, I still had no idea how to do it postpartum. And so that initial journey was very challenging. And then as I had more babies and I started to learn more, and I worked with a pelvic floor physical therapist, and I did a lot of my own learning and experimentation with myself, every time I've had a baby, it's been easier to navigate that journey. And at the same time, when I was navigating, figuring out where I wanted my life to go, and I was having my fourth baby, I thought, man, I like this exercise thing. I kind of feel like I figured some things out here, and maybe that's what I need to start doing. And that led to me talking about exercise on social media, which then led to, I'm super passionate about coaching and teaching in general. Those are my favorite parts of primary care. That was a large part of why I went into family medicine. And so it was like, if I can do this where I get to coach people on this other thing that I'm passionate about, I can combine all of these passions that I have into one,
Wow, what a story. That's wonderful that you started just figuring things out, and eventually, once you felt like you figured it out, you wanted to now help other people also figure it out.
Yeah, thank you.
So let me ask you this now, Dr. Sara. Many people make these goals, right? And then why is it that, in your opinion, or from what you've seen, especially as a coach, what is it where do people go wrong when they start so well by making these goals, and then, it's like when you go to the gym, for example, if you want to decide to make the movement or start exercising from the top at the top of the year, and then it's you go to the gym, you see that in January gym is packed, and then February, and then after that it start dwindling all the way down to especially after summer break, it's more like you have less and less and less people. Where do people go wrong, in their journey?
Yeah, I think, and this is like hashtag unpopular opinion maybe, but so my thoughts on this is, I think that people set goals around fitness and exercise that are too much of a stretch. So on January 1, it's like, we're super motivated. We're going to make, a bazillion different changes to be on this healthier path. But it's like, you're going from the life that was, and you're trying to overhaul it all overnight. And when you read different books about habit building and habit development and all of that sort of, literature, it's really difficult to make many different changes all at once. You have to do things, or the way to be the most effective and the way to maintain consistency and success in the long term is to have things be sort of smaller and incremental, and pick maybe one thing that's going to change. And when that's solidified, then you layer on something else. And so this I learned myself, because I was the person, like, even growing up college, and I was like, January 1 was always this like magical day. And it was like, okay, we're going to like hit the gym and this is the workout. And like, I wasn't doing much before, but now I'm going to be doing 45 minutes and straight. Like, it was this whole big thing. And then when I became a mom, it was like, yeah, no, like that's never a thing. There is no such thing that exists where I can leave the house and go to the gym for X amount of minutes, like 0 minutes. I have to figure out how to do this in my house consistently. And there was a year that on January 1st, instead of making those lofty goals, I was like, I'm going to do something for 5 minutes a day. And maybe it's a stretch, maybe it's a meditation even, maybe it's 5 minutes of walking or like a little bit of weights. But I basically said like, okay, I'm going to just show up for 5 minutes. And if I do more, that's amazing, but I'm going to do at least 5 minutes. And I have now done that for like almost 1,100 days in a row because it's been like 3 years or something because it felt so doable. It was like, of course I can do something for 5 minutes. And even Valerie, there are days where it's not even 5 minutes in a row. Like I have 5 kids. A lot of time, my husband is a general surgeon, so he's often not home and operating. So there are days where I'm not even 5 minutes in a row. Like it might be 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there. You know, I split it up, but I think the whole concept is having that initial goal be something so like it almost feels silly because it's so simple and so doable. And that's, I think, where it's the unpopular opinion of like, we want to set goals that are like super stretch goals. And I fully endorse that in other areas of life. Or if you're somebody that's already consistent with movement. But I think if you are, maybe you haven't been consistent or maybe you haven't really been doing much at all, setting the bar be something that you know you can do will lead to that consistency. And then over time, you can add on like, okay, now I'm going to go to 6 minutes or I'm going to do it twice a day. Like you can always layer in the future. It's more about building that consistency first because then you're telling your subconscious, like, I am a person that exercises. I am an active person.
But that's one way of thinking about it. And as you say, it's very unpopular because from what we hear, oftentimes it's like you have to exercise, especially if you want to lose weight. You have to exercise at least 3 days a week for at the very least 30 minutes because that's the point at which you start burning fat. But now you're talking about 5 minutes. If somebody's trying to lose weight, how does that help?
So I think that, and I saw this a lot with my patients when I was practicing full time, they would say, my ex-doctor, my cardiologist said I should be doing this many days a week, this many minutes. I don't know how to do that. So it was like they were doing nothing because they felt incapacitated by not like being essentially sedentary to being told I have to be exercising 150 minutes a week. So that's a big range, right? So for somebody that's maybe mostly on the couch or maybe has a lot of chronic pain issues or something like that, that feels impossible. It feels totally not doable. And so I think having a stepwise thing of like, just get started with whatever you can do today. And then, like I said, you will be surprised what happens when you start doing even just a little bit. So I can think of one specific person I had that it was like, can you find 1 minute a day to move? I would say this to my patients all the time. Like, can you find 1 minute a day to move? Everybody almost always has to say yes. How could you say no? Right. And I would have, this one patient came back and was like, hey doc, like I was already up doing that minute walking around the couch. So I just did 5. So it was like those sorts of things start to happen where your brain is recognizing like, I'm up, I'm doing it. I don't feel terrible. I guess I could keep going for a little bit. And then over time, you build up to that, I'm going to do 3 times a week for this many minutes. I think one other thing to go with that, I know that especially on January 1, but especially with like the obesity crisis and all of that, there is a large focus on weight loss, but I think it's very, very helpful to also have like, why do you want to be moving? Okay, you want to lose weight. That's wonderful. But what does that like go past that. What does that allow you to do? Do you have
Right.
more energy to play with your kids? Are you able to go up the stairs and feel less short of breath? There's a lot of things that movement will provide for you in terms of wins that are like go way beyond just the scale in terms of how you feel, both physically, mentally, how you show up to life. Your, like for me, days that I don't do as much, I struggle more as a mom because it helps me be mentally strong and brings me like the patience that I need to take care of a lot of little kids. That's something that I didn't realize at the time, but when I started to think about like what are the benefits of moving my body regularly, there are a lot of non-physical benefits as well. And then focusing on those helps you to keep going with that consistency, which then leads to more of those physical benefits down the line.
Wow. No, that's really changing the whole mindset, which is, trying to gradually build up to where you want to go, but not just that, not seeing like the big goal or, oh, I want to lose 30 pounds, but how do I think that losing 30 pounds would make me feel? What am I going to be able to achieve once that's accomplished? And so, going gradually. Now that's one way of thinking about it, because quite honestly, as far as exercising is concerned, I've never thought about it that way. So thank you so much for the
Yeah,
enlightenment.
absolutely.
Wow. So now for someone who says, well, I don't have any money to purchase the equipment, or I can't afford to go to the gym. Do those just become excuses, or, I mean, can we go around them and still move and still be effective?
Yes, 1000%. So that's exactly what I was saying. Like, especially for anyone, like whether you're a mom or you're maybe a busy professional or you have a job where it would be difficult for you to get out of the house and go to a gym, or it's a financial thing where it's like gyms are expensive and
Yeah.
can you get it done at home? Like, yes, you absolutely can. I think there's many like walking, literally walking, whether it's in your house, out of your house, up and down the stairs, around your couch, just movement in the form of walking is a wonderful, wonderful exercise. And that's a wonderful one for somebody that maybe, I mean, for everybody, but especially for somebody that maybe is getting back into movement because it's gentle. The risk of injury is pretty small, assuming you're not going out in the snow and ice, obviously. But so that's one thing. I think another thing that was part of why I created my YouTube channel. So I have a YouTube channel where I have hundreds of videos, shorter, longer. Many of them are geared towards pregnancy and postpartum people, but they are effective for anyone that wants to get moving. Many of them are gentle, but they're all like anywhere, anytime. You could be barefoot, you could be in your pajamas. Like they're very simple. And that's another, and YouTube is free. Like, so that's a wonderful resource as long as you're finding like a credible person that's putting out the content. So you know that they kind of are on the right track. Yeah, you can absolutely, and even you can do it even strength training without having weights. So you can do soup cans or water bottles, or, you can create light weights just with household items if you want to add a little bit of resistance. You can also use, if you don't have weights at home, like actual dumbbells or weights, you can use household things like water bottles or soup cans as light weights that you could move around. I had also mentioned I have a YouTube channel. That was part of my motivation to create the YouTube channel because YouTube is free and you can you can check that out. I have hundreds of videos that are all different lengths, but it's really things that can be done anywhere, anytime. Most of the time I'm barefoot. You can be in your pajamas. Like it doesn't have to be this big to do where it's like you have to get ready and into gym clothes. Like the whole premise is to keep it simple and doable and fit it into your everyday life. And then, yes, strength training is like all the rage now and we want to lift heavy weights, but maybe that's something you build to as you get consistent habit going, at home.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So now, say for example, if you have children, you're a mom like you and you have 5 children, how do you even start exercising around them? And I know that you're talking about, like small increments, and you're talking about, even a little bit at a time. How do you actually do it? Do you exercise with them? What does it look like for you?
Yeah. So the first thing is it looks different almost every day. Ideally, I prefer doing exercise in the morning because I can try to do it before they wake up. But for many reasons, that doesn't always work and often doesn't work. Or I'll be doing it in the morning and one of them is already awake. So they come watch me or they participate with me, depending on which kid it is and how old they are.
Yeah.
There are many times, sometimes on the weekend, my husband and I will exercise next to each other and the 5 of them will be watching and they're playing with their toys, they're laughing, but they're just part of we have built it into our family that this is a thing that we do where they may be doing something and they're participating and watching us. The other thing I do is I am often outside with them, especially during the day when my husband's at work. We'll go outside to walk, play, or bike ride, or whatever it is. And in the past, that I never, in quotation marks, I never counted that as exercise. It was this is taking care of the kids' time. This is special time with the kids, but it wasn't exercise.
I see.
And then when I started really thinking about this movement stuff, it was why wouldn't that count as exercise? 2 things can be true at the same time. I can be building memories with my kids, but also getting my movement in. Both of those things can be true. And so when I made that kind of mindset shift, that also helped unlock a lot of other sort of avenues of sometimes there are days where it's hard and everybody is needing a lot of attention and there's tantruming. And so maybe that's a day where I do something like when I'm running laundry up and down the stairs, I go up and down the stairs twice an extra time. Just something like that where it's small, it's just a few seconds, but I have found that even if it's something that feels so tiny, it is still worth doing. It counts and it makes a difference.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I remember earlier you talked about, you may decide to do 5 minutes, but it may not be consecutively. So what you're saying is, because I know that, from what we hear is that, you have to at least do, as I was saying earlier, 30 minutes, but it has to be consecutively for you to start burning, or building energy or burning fat but if you break it up to 5 minutes and then 5 minutes later on, and then does that still work as far as weight loss?
So I think that if you were not moving before and you start moving 5 minutes a day, there's a change there, right? Because you're going to change the amount of calories that your body needs during the day. So you're going to burn more calories. And then if you're somebody that's moving 5 minutes a day and then you go to moving 10 minutes a day, you're going to, do you see what I'm saying? So you're doing more than you were doing the day before. And so I think there's less of a recipe of this is what I need to be doing to achieve XYZ. It's more just let me move my body and let me move my body a little bit more today than I did yesterday.
No, I love it. I really love it. And I know we keep pondering on this is because we've heard these same things over and over and over for so many years, and repeating it and saying it again and again, switching the mindset is something that needs to be said and said again. This is why I keep, asking the kind of the same question, because somebody might say, she already answered that, but it's we need to hear it time and time again.
Right. I think, Valerie, the one thing I would say is it's I think sometimes people say, well, oh, it's easy to say that. So it's really all about whoever's listening, take the action. If it's a minute a day, just start doing 1 minute a day. Maybe you're going to just march in, you wake up in the morning, you get out of your bed, you march in place for a minute a day and do it every single day. And every day write it down, whether it's in your journal if you're a pen and paper person, or if it's on your phone if you're a digital person, whatever works best. But like, write it down. Like, I did it. I did my movement. And inevitably, after doing that every single day, even for a week, sometimes even for a few days, like, you will start to notice differences. You'll notice your brain and like how it's thinking. You'll notice your body and how it feels. And maybe even most interestingly, like, I've had clients that have told me like they've started doing, like, maybe they weren't moving and they start doing 5 minutes of stretching a day. I've had 2 specific clients come back and say, I'm sleeping better. I started drinking more water. I'm eating, like, I'm making healthier food choices, but I wasn't even necessarily trying to do that. But it's because when you move your body, it's like your subconscious is like, I am a healthy, active person. And so making those other choices that are leading to your overall health and wellness become less difficult. There's less barriers to do that.
Wow, thank you so much. So, how does exercising, from what you know, how does that affect somebody's mental health?
Yeah. So I have seen this time and time again like I said, when I was practicing full-time family medicine. Patients with depression and anxiety, inevitably, the combination of exercise and getting outside, so especially if you can have fresh air, it is wild how much better they would feel. It's like that movement of your body just helps to metabolize some of those feelings and thoughts and like the different things that, obviously those type of issues are multifactorial. There's a lot of things that go into diagnosing them and treating them and what causes them. But inevitably, there is never a time that I've seen that movement makes anything worse, and always will make it better. That doesn't mean it replaces treatment with medication or therapy or anything like that, but inevitably it helps. And I think especially for people maybe that don't have a diagnosed condition, but have what it feels like everybody in the world has nowadays from time to time, which is feeling overwhelmed or stressed or like, oh my gosh, the world is crumbling and like I have all these things to, like that sort of sense. It always helps you feel better. Like, it helps ground you and center you, and it helps metabolize some of those thoughts in a positive way.
Wonderful. So, tell us a little bit about the benefit of stretching. Why is it important, even for somebody who is a heavy lifter or like a very good exerciser? Like, why is it important to stretch?
Yeah. So stretching, I think, is the key to everything in terms of how you age, because for your body to keep moving in the way that you want it to, you need to maintain movement, but you need to maintain length in your muscles, in your tendons, in your ligaments, all of that. It aids in recovery. So just in my own like personal experimentation, for example, if I run and I don't stretch afterwards versus I do stretch afterwards, the amount of soreness and pain and recovery is like exponentially more when I don't stretch, because it just aids in that recovery. But what I have found, interestingly, as I got more and more, I started to get really into stretching when I was having all these babies, because it's like when you're immediately postpartum, obviously you're not hopping on a treadmill. Like, you can't go back to doing that stuff right away.
Right.
But stretching is something you can do, always, because it's gentle and you can breathe through it. So what I have found is it's incredibly helpful for that mental piece, because it's like this almost meditative, like a meditative mindfulness kind of thing, where you're like peaceful and you're holding a certain position for a while. It's a time and a space, and potentially be quiet, and maybe you have some thoughts that you work through, however that might be for you. So I think there's the physical benefit of it and the mental health benefit of it. But I mean, I know now, and this is another experiment people can do. Like, on a day where I don't stretch, I can tell, like, my body feels stiffer. I don't feel as fluid. And this is not like, this is like 5 minutes. Like I'll do a 5 minute sort of like a quick 5 minute full body routine. So it's not like I'm dedicating a ton of time. I would love to do more, but that's not always possible.
People, right?
But even, yeah, like even a few minutes makes a really big difference in how your body feels when you're doing your normal day-to-day activities.
Wow. I mean, you're bringing us so much hope, especially for busy professionals, as you say, for parents,
Yeah, I love it.
caregivers. Yeah, the fact that you can do it. You just spoke about 5 minute full body stretch or workout, and I'm like, okay, so you can even do like a full body workout in 5 minutes. Like that is just blowing my mind. Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Wow. So when you say that, it means that you working your upper body, lower body, and your abs. What does that look like of 5 minutes full body workout?
So it depends. So if I'm doing a stretch, a lot of the stretches that I do are, I choose ones that are like they target multiple areas.
Okay.
So it might be a stretch that's getting like my hips and my back. So I can hold that for a minute and get multiple body areas. So I sort of have stretches like that that I will routinely do. But even like if I wanted to do a full body sort of strength-ish workout, you know,
Yeah.
you could do like a minute of a warm up. And a lot of times I'll do a warm up that's kind of a combination of balance, stretch, and strength all in one. So you're kind of targeting different things. And then you could do 3 minutes of like working time, which could be like a minute of arms, a minute of legs, a minute of core, and then 1 minute of a cool down stretch. And that could be 1 minute, you just hold the same stretch. It could be 30 seconds of two different stretches, depending on like what your body needs. But yeah, I mean, you can absolutely do it. It's different than I think the traditional like Instagram reel where it's like somebody doing, you know, you're doing like 7 different arm exercises for one thing. Like, yeah, it's not that, but it is possible to target multiple areas and keep it super efficient and doable for somebody that is like, I don't have 30 minutes to do something, but maybe I have 5.
We know we really need to get to your YouTube channel because, yes, there will be a lot of help, a lot of hope. In fact, Dr. Sarah, I remember, I think a couple times when I decided to start exercising around my couch, like running around my couch and some walking and running around my couch. After that, you know, to stretch, I actually went and I watched one of your reels and it was so short. And I did feel the burn. I was like, oh, this does work. Like I had exercised, I had stretched my arms. And even, you know, it's like I always thought that I needed weight. Not only did I stretch, but I also kind of exercised my arms and my legs. And it was such a short period of time, but I really did feel the burn. And I was like, so I don't need to do so much in order to actually exercise. I just need to know what to do. So really, thank you. In fact, this is my time to say thank you for what you do, because I think I did that for a couple of times and it really did make a difference. So my resolution would be to actually, for the new year, go and binge on your videos and actually put it into action, because I'm also someone who has so much going on. Like, you know, I have so many responsibilities and I am actually being evangelized in a way, or I'm being encouraged, you know, to seek movement or see movement in a different way, where it's not just about, you know, I need to do an hour or an hour and a half or at least 45 minutes, but I can actually, you know, move as much as I can and not beat myself up for not having, you know, reached the potential that I think is potential. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you absolutely nailed it right there with the not beating yourself up about what you're not doing,
Right.
and celebrating what you. I think that's huge, because that's where I think when you think about the people that drop off in February and March after they set these resolutions, some of it is that like they have a day that's busy at work and they don't make it to the gym. And then it's like, well, it's all going out the window because I didn't do what I thought what I had set out to do. And my one thing that I found to be really helpful for me around that kind of obstacle is always having a backup workout.
Okay.
So maybe I have planned and I'm gonna like run on the treadmill and then do weights. Like I have some big giant dream plan and then it all falls apart, right? Because the kids are throwing tantrums or whatever it is. I always have usually like a B workout and a C workout. So I know if I can't do the A dream workout, then I'm going to go to this one. Those are always the same. So I don't have to think about it. I know I can just like show up and do it and get it done. So there's no brain, there's no decision making. And I think that can really with the consistency because as everybody knows, when you have something planned and things don't go to plan and you haven't really thought about like, what will I do when this goes wrong, then it's very easy to throw in the towel and say, well, never mind. Like this is too hard.
Right.
So if you kind of plan for that ahead of time, that can be incredibly helpful.
Yes, I just love it. Thank you so much. So let me ask you this.
You're welcome.
Why is it important for someone to work out their core?
Okay, so core is hugely important for everyone, especially women that have been pregnant and postpartum, but really everyone, because your core, especially your deep core, so the innermost layer of your abs is what provides support for everything else. So for your spine, for your breathing, like for everything. And so what I personally like, I never really thought about how important it was. Like, of course, you learn about it here and there in medical school and stuff. But when I struggled with chronic low back pain because I had a major injury and then had to have back surgery. And so I struggled on and off with this chronic low back pain until I was postpartum and did pelvic floor physical therapy and strengthened my core and started doing the exercises and the stretches regularly. It all went away.
Wow.
Like all of that chronic back pain was gone. And when I thought about it and talked to the physical therapist, she was like, well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because probably your core was weak. So your back, which was already injured, was trying to sort of compensate to help you balance and to help you do your day-to-day activities. And when you had proper core strength, your back was able to feel better because you sort of relieved it of the excess pressure that it didn't need. So that's just one example, but I've also had people that have hip issues, things that maybe you don't necessarily go straight to, but like hip and knee issues a lot of times stem from low back issues that can be corrected when your core is strong.
Wow.
So yeah, it's hugely important.
Wow. I've learned. And
I love it. That's what I'm here.
Right. Thank you, coach. So now let me ask you this. I think this will make this the last question. I heard you say initially and many times you talked about, exercising postpartum. How different is it from somebody who has not given birth yet or who hasn't just given birth? How different is the exercising or how more careful should they be when they're trying to exercise?
Yeah. So I think that postpartum is very similar to maybe somebody that just hasn't exercised regularly ever, or somebody that maybe was an exerciser in the past, but has taken a long break for whatever reason, or even somebody that maybe had to have like a surgery or something where they had to take an extended period of time off of movement or off of exercise. Like, in all of those scenarios, it is necessary to have a gentle progression of where you start to where you're going. So all of those periods are very vulnerable and very delicate. And if you try to jump right into doing something that, like if you haven't been doing anything and you decide, okay, like next weekend I'm going to run a 5K, right? Inevitably, there's going to be injury. There's going to be pain. There's going to be discouragement of like, I don't want to keep going. This hurts. This doesn't. So like, there needs to be in all of those people, no matter what their situation is, the common thread is there needs to be a gentle progression.
Okay.
And I think like owning where you're starting from, and it doesn't have to be from a place of like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst. I'm this many years old, or I haven't done this many years. Like whatever it is, just kind of put that aside. And it's like, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I am and I'm starting.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just start and you show up and you celebrate that you're showing up.
Right.
It doesn't have to be, you're celebrating because you ran whatever. It doesn't have to be that outcome based. It just needs to be, I showed up, I did it. And that's the win because I'm healthy and I'm making myself healthier by doing this. And I think, like I said, starting gentle and then just progressing as you feel yourself getting stronger. And there's loads of ways to do that. That's another reason why I wanted to be doing this movement coaching thing, because especially with postpartum, I have this, like I've learned how to do it where you start from where you are and you gently progress and get stronger. And I think there's many resources that people can find where, maybe not many, but it is possible to find resources where it's not just like the Instagram reel where it's somebody super fit that's lifting like super heavy. That's part of why I wanted to make my channel too, where it's like there can be real life people with real life bodies doing strong things, but also showing you how it can start from where you are and then you build and progress. It doesn't have to be, I've been exercising for 5 years and I'm, it doesn't have to be that.
I love it. Thank you so much for the encouragement. We are getting so much hope into the new year, seriously, because yes, now we've been encouraged knowing that we don't have to be Superman or Superwoman. We just need to put one foot in front of the other, start where we are and build from there.
Yes, exactly right.
Wonderful. So, doctor, if somebody wanted to work with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, so I have an email list that people can sign up for. It's drsaraionescu.com. So it's DRSARAIONESCU. My YouTube channel, my Instagram, my Facebook, where I post all my videos. I have links everywhere to get scheduled for a free movement consult if you have an interest to learn more about what it looks like and what transformation happens and all of that. But yeah, you can definitely go check out my YouTube videos. Like I said, I have hundreds of videos there, shorts, longs, all different topics, all different things. And if anybody that is listening or watching is like, hey, you don't have that, like send me a request. I will gladly. I love making videos. I've had a few people request different things and I love doing that as well to provide you value.
Wonderful. So if we have to take one thing from today's conversation, let it be this: small steps done consistently can truly create change. It can create change in your body, in your mind, and in your life. Thank you so much, Dr. Sara Ionescu. You were such this was such an impactful conversation. You brought us so much clarity, so much hope. And so thank you so much for saying yes to our invitation today.
Yes, absolutely. I was so glad to be here. And yeah, great to talk to your audience. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And so yes, until we see you next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.